Get this figure and more at the Big Bad Toy Store, links in the description. Hey, my name is Jobby, and you call this a masterpiece? This is actually pretty accurate. That was just a callback to my Masterpiece Starscream review, which you can check out in the description. And in that video, I pretty much outlined my reasons why I think that figure did not deserve the Masterpiece label. But this figure, which is not even an officially licensed Hasbro Takara product, is more Masterpiece than the Masterpiece. How the hell did this happen? Meteor, formerly known as Howling Meteor, Screaming Star, get it? Is part of a subline of figures by MakeToys called the Remaster series. And for what I can tell, they have a hard-on for Starscream. But to be fair, who doesn't? And while I really wasn't sold on their version of Megatron, seeing as the official Masterpiece Megatron is amazing, their version of Starscream was irresistible. The fact that one of you guys brought the figure to my attention shortly after I released the Masterpiece Starscream video probably sold me on this figure even harder. But that was all the anticipation, the foreplay if you will. How is it like to actually play with this figure? Wow! The painting and the sculpting on this figure is amazing. The colors are bold and bright, and the proportions are perfect for a fairly animation-accurate sculpt. And on the topic of animation accuracy, yeah, it's not one-to-one, but at least it's actually trying. I'm of the mindset that Masterpiece Transformers should be as animation-accurate as possible. And this figure, despite being third-party, is just that. I mean, just look at the lack of detail. No unnecessary panel lines, just blocky, plain surfaces, and I love it. Some of you might see it as a problem that this figure is more animation accurate rather than being more realistic. But for me, it's exactly what I look for in a Masterpiece figure. I mean, it worked for Megatron, and it's definitely working with the Beast Wars figures. I already got my pre-order and pray for my wallet. I should mention that the figure doesn't come with these Decepticon logos, because MakeToys would be sued. So this is just from a sheet of REPROLABELS. Easily available and definitely worth it if you collect third-party figures. And with that, let's stop sucking off the figure. As much as I absolutely love how this thing looks, the praise kind of ends when you go, God damn, this is ugly. To be fair, it is in line with what they did with the Masterpiece Megatron, and I'm starting to see a problem here. I really hope this doesn't become a trend with the design of Masterpiece and Masterpiece-style Transformers, because the back of a figure matters too. Maybe I'm being a bit overdramatic. I mean, toy designers couldn't possibly neglect the back of all of their figures going forward, right? Well, as much as I've been singing the praises of MP41 Dinobot on my Twitter, I could already see the bullshit. God damn it! Hashtag Black Lives Matter. And to top off this kibble sandwich, this part is easily detachable. Good. But apparently, according to one of you guys, this was an intentional feature, because if you close these flaps, you get a cleaner back. Except for this shit. Okay, honestly, I could actually forgive all of this. Compromises have to be made for the transformation, I understand that, but the ass flap is complete ass! Seriously, you already had all this. Might as well add on to that pile by making this fold up a bit more. This just seems like lazy design, as opposed to a genuine compromise. And it's not like it's impossible. Just add a hinge joy here, and make it fold up one more time. I mean, they managed that with these tail fins, which, by the way, you have the option of leaving those out. All you would have to do is just flip this up and plug that in, and it folds like that. But I prefer to shove it into the leg like this. It just keeps it from flopping around. However, I'm glad to say that those are the only loose parts on this figure, because the rest of the figure is nice. And except for the wings, they don't really want to stay plugged in for long. But it's not too bad. At least this figure's torso stays in one piece. Well, technically, this figure's torso can also split apart, but it's more of a feature than a reason to die. But before I talk about that, the splitting torso, not the dying part, let's take a look at his accessories. First of all, his face, which I don't think is too dark, you racist, is replaceable. But you gotta pop off his head to do it. I wish his eyes were a bit more vibrant, you know, something along the lines of Megatron, but I'll live. So in addition to that normal face, you get a very smug, smirking face, which is so perfect for Starscream that it hurts. And you get a I totally didn't betray you, please don't kill me face. And a note about these faces, they're really tiny. Extremely easy to lose, so just don't. And you get an alternate headpiece, which you could just pop right into that ball joint. Makes him look like he's being choked out by Megatron. This is arguably his best accessory. I mean, it would have been the best if I had a compatible figure. Sadly, this part is not made for the MP36 Megatron. It's for MakeToys' own Despotron, which, as I mentioned before, I have no interest in picking him up. Is it just me or does he look too chunky? So sadly, this hand will have to go on bodiless. And maybe I'll just leave it like that because he probably enjoys it. Choke me, daddy. And finally, you get this pair of plastic nipples. You could actually replace the end of his null rays. And now it makes it look like they've retracted. These are a little more relevant for the transformation. You know, holding him like this and feeling the weight of the figure makes me realize that I forgot to mention his die-cast metal pieces, which of course I found using my co-touch technique. Now that that's out of the way, we can finally... I should probably get rid of this. Ball joint at the head. You can look up not that far and look down that far. Rotation at the arm. The wings could get in the way of that, but you do get a hinge joint here and a hinge joint here. Shoulder moves out. Bicep swivel. The null ray is on 2 hinge joints, which kind of gets him out of the way. Double bend at the elbow. Wrist swivel. Fingers can move out, and this pointing finger is a bit too tight. But once you do get it out, you get a hinge joint here and a hinge joint here. Waist swivel. Eat that bitch. And you get a hinge joint here and a hinge joint here that allows for an ab crunch. Very nice touch that this part of the cockpit is separated, but you could always close the gap. You can make him go even deeper, but that's a little more than necessary. Front skirt moves up, allows for a high kick, and of course there's a hinge joint at the butt flap, which allows the leg to move back that far. Side skirts move out, and of course that allows for thigh swivel, bend at the knee, an even deeper bend. The toe can move down, move up that far. It's on a double ratchet hinge joint, you see. And finally, a pivot at the ankle. Again, eat that bit. Posability on this guy is fantastic. Not only does he have the minimum requirements for a good posable figure, that ab crunch does a lot to make his poses that much more dynamic. As for the size of the figure, it's pretty much what you'd expect from a Masterpiece style figure. Here's Figma Madoka Kaname, SH Monster Arts Godzilla, Masterpiece Optimus Prime, another MakeToys figure, the Thunder Erebus, Masterpiece Megatron, and finally, the alleged Masterpiece Starscream. With all this figure's flaws, it still makes this guy look like trash. Still, it's a shame about that back kibble, but I suppose without all of this stuff, the figure's transformation wouldn't be possible. And here we have the jet mode. Not only was the transformation incredibly fun and satisfying, the end result was completely worth it. This is a great jet mode. Everything just fits together so nicely, resulting in a very playable and of course a very solid toy. But I do have a few problems with it. These tail fins are very annoying. They're flimsy and they don't want to stay in the same spot, which I gotta say, that's something that the MP11 did better. I mean, I understand this is completely necessary for the transformation, but I wish they would lock into place somehow. Also, I do miss the cool jet gimmicks from the MP11, but here, that's all you get. But that doesn't really bother me too much because the robot mode looks so good. They made the right sacrifices. But would it have been a huge cost if they included actual wheels? These are just solid pieces of plastic, so there's really none of that woohoo quality to the toy. Cockpit's also not transparent, but who cares? Honestly, all of my complaints so far have been petty nitpicks. And the underside of the jet might be a problem for some people, but at this point, there really is no reason to get upset about this. You're never gonna display it like this, are you? But the profile of the jet isn't as sleek as I would like it to be. Also, yeah, this figure doesn't have those fancy no-ray struts, and some people might call this aspect of the figure parts forming. Well, kind of is parts forming, in the sense that every Transformers weapon ever is parts forming. You remove the weapon from the robot mode, and put it somewhere else for the vehicle mode. So really, you can take that complaint and put him in this mode. The figure gains quite a bit of length, but there's no safe way to keep him standing, so this will have to do. Madoka Godzilla Prime, Erebus, Megatron, and finally Starscream, which actually has the better jet mode. But an awesome jet mode is worthless if you don't have a good robot mode. That's where this figure strongly delivers. Overall, this figure's amazing.
What? Amazing? Even with that back kibble?
Yes, that back kibble is undeniably ugly, but I can't deny my feelings for this figure. It might not be the best figure objectively, but god damn it, it gave me so much joy just handling it. So if you're looking to complete your Transformers Masterpiece collection but can't stand the sight of MP11, go ahead and pick this guy up. It's a more than worthy replacement. But I gotta let you in on a little secret. I didn't even pay for this. The figure is quite pricey, but I have to say it's definitely worth it. I was so close to buying this guy myself, myself, but then I remembered to have a sugar daddy. So guys, I look forward to the infinite repaints and remolds of this figure, and I feel terribly sorry for all of you Seeker collectors. As for me, I think I'll just stick with Meteor here, unless, you know, I get more for free. And I gotta say, I feel that I was a bit too hard on MP11 on this video. I don't even think it's that terrible of a figure. But man, compared to this guy, I drew a picture summing up my feelings. I'm sorry, did I mention I could draw? I mean, I really want you to know that I can draw. It's very important that you know that I can draw. Please. I just don't want spoilers to be the only thing I leave on this earth.